Our karmas create our futures. How we live in this life has a lot to do with what comes after this. So, do I know that reincarnation is absolutely true? No, I do not. It is something I believe is true, but you don't have to believe that. But in the East, they pretty much, most people believe in that this one life that we're living now is part of is a chapter in a very big book that's still being written.
Welcome to the Krishna Das Pilgrim Heart Hour. In this podcast, Krishna Das shares his warm-hearted and down-to-earth path to the divine. If you are interested in supporting Krishna Das's podcast, please go to BeHereNowNetwork.com/KD.
Om Namo Gurudev Nim Karoli Babaya Namaha. Om Namo Gurudev Nim Karoli Babaya Namaha. Om Namo All right, let's do some questions and stuff in a little while. I'm reading the terrific book, Sometimes Brilliant. He asked me, this person is asking me if I have memories to share from that era of the smallpox eradication. This book is so beautiful. It's so great. You really get a feel for a lot of things. And one of the things is a feel for how Maharaj-ji gets things done. Many times from behind the scenes. So it's an incredible story, and Larry Brilliant, my guru brother, is a great writer, wonderful writer. And it's an incredible story. So the person's asking me if I have a memory. Actually, I had already been sent back to America when Maharaj-ji started sending Dr. Larry down to Delhi to work for the United Nations organization. So I didn't know anything about it until later. So how did you end up realizing that you wanted to do kirtan throughout your life? You know, I fell and banged my head, and when I woke up, I thought, why don't I do kirtan for the rest of my life? That's the last question I have. Well, you know, I had started singing in India. We all the Westerners were singing to Maharaj-ji because that's one of the ways that he let us spend more time with him. And it became a way of entering more deeply into that presence, the presence, being with him. And then he sent me back to America, and he left his body soon after that, 49 years ago today. And I had a pretty hard time for many years. And then many years later, I was in my apartment in New York City at the time, and I walked from one room to the other room, and I was struck by lightning inside. And at that moment, I understood completely that if I did not chant with people, not alone in my room, but with people, if I did not chant with people, I would never be able to clean out the dark corners and the shadows in my own heart. So I had to, it took me a little while to get with the program, but once you know something, you know, even if you're trying to pretend you don't know. And I knew that I had to sing with people if I was going to live. And so that's why I started and how I started. And there was no plan. This was not a career move. This was a survival move. And so it's still the same. Somebody wants me to clarify what I spoke about yesterday on service. Where was I yesterday? But anyway, where Maharaj-ji said to me, so I was coming home, he was sending me back to America. I'd been walking around India barefoot in a red dress for years, a couple of years. And I didn't know what I was going to do in America, because when I came to India, in my mind, I was never going back to America. I'd given everything away, sold everything I could sell, and got on the plane, and I'm gone. And so then one day he looked at me and said, you have to go back to America. You have attachment there. What is he talking about, attachment? I gave everything away. So I was sitting in front of him in what would be so far the last time I saw him physically. And I was getting ready to leave that afternoon for Delhi to get on the plane the next day. And I was trying to figure out, what do I do here? You know, what am I going to do in America? How am I going to live? because I loved India and still do so much that, and I always felt so comfortable there with basically nothing. We had nothing. We wandered around and followed Maharaj-ji, and he took care of us. So I don't know what I was going to do. So I was sitting there arguing with myself in front of him. I better ask him what to do. And then I would say, no, you should have faith. Just go and don't ask what's wrong with you. And then I'd say, are you kidding me? What am I going to do in America? Whatever, back and forth, back and forth. Well, finally I blurted out, Maharaj-ji, how can I serve you in America? Now, come on. I wasn't at all concerned with how I was going to serve him. I was concerned with how the fuck was I going to live in America? Tell me what to do. And he looked like he bit a pickle, He just, that's when he said, asking about service, then it's not service. Just do what you want, he said. So what did he mean? You can help people. You can you can do many things to help people. You can ask them what they need and help them get those things. You can help them get food, shelter, clothing. You can help them get jobs. You can do lots of things for beings, people, animals. But you usually have a sense of, I'm doing something, or I'm busy, I'm doing this. Not that it's a big ego thing, but what Maharaj-ji was saying was that, first of all, he was telling me that I had to find out what I wanted. And that would be service to him, not the fact that you understand, at that point in my life, I was very confused about many things. And I was in India with Maharaj-ji, and by being with him physically, those things were way in the background and they weren't getting dealt with. I was locked into him. That's all I wanted to do was be with him. And of course, yes, I wanted to get laid, but I'm not going to do that because couples would get together and then they'd be sent back to America. Not for me. But still, there was all kinds of energy and a lot of confusion that I wasn't aware of. So when he said, do what you want, he gave me the greatest teaching because I had to find out what I wanted. If you follow an order, that's not service in the sense of seva, in the sense of selfless service. But if you find your path and your practice and your heart, your heart's love, then you're in a different place. And then by following that, you're actually serving all beings, because you find your way of living in the world in a good way, and that includes everybody. I don't know if that makes sense, but you say that, I understand, but I've just gotten comfortable asking people how I may help. Yeah, that's good, help. Why not? But you see, it wasn't really about that thing he said. Was more about do what you want, and when doing what you want brings you closer to love, closer to peace, closer to compassion, closer to living a good life, then you're in the right place. What are my preferred versions of the Gita and the Ramayana? Well, as far as the Ramayana goes, I love the Tulsidas Ramayana. It's called Sri Ram Charitamanasa, which means the lake of the stories, the mind-like lake of the stories of Ram. And every chapter is a descent deeper into the mind, deeper into the heart, deeper into the lake of stories. As far as the Gita, there's quite a few of the versions of the Gita out there. I'm not a Gita scholar. As far as simple English goes, Christopher Isherwood and his guru, Swami Prabhavananda, wrote a very good reworking of the Gita in English, because Christopher Isherwood was a great writer and knew English very well. And so he knew how to express things. So that's a very nice one. But there's a new one out. I think, what is it called? I always forget what it's called. That's very interesting, because in English, a lot of the spiritual language has been appropriated naturally by Christianity, because that's the religion of Western culture mostly. And English is one of those main languages. And so when you try to translate spiritual things, spiritual concepts, many times you lean on these words that are used in Christianity that have a lot of shades of meaning. So this new translation, called the Gita, Bhagavad Gita Comes Alive, by Jeffrey Armstrong, winds the time back before Western minds translated the Gita from Sanskrit into English with all these words that are very religious, from religious traditions that aren't Indian, aren't the Gita. So they wind it back, and so there's a lot more explanation in the book, and a lot of clarity. It's very interesting. It's a new way of looking at the Gita. So, and if now the Ramcharitamanas, the Ramayana of Tulsidas, is very it's extraordinary. It's a devotional text. It's really rewires you for a different kind of love, for real love. And but if you want to just get the story of the Ramayana, William Buck wrote 2 books that I know of. One is the Ramayana in English, and the other one is the Mahabharata in English. Both of those books are really, really good. They really tell the story well. They don't have all the details, but they're very good. William Buck. Did Maharaj-ji speak English? Only when he wanted to. and he understood it only when he wanted to. Like a lot of times, I remember one time I was trying to tell him something. I was talking to the translator, and I finished this long story, and then Maharaj-ji looked at me and gave me the answer to everything. Yeah, he hadn't, the translator hadn't been able to say a word to him. He knew whatever he had to know. He could speak whatever language he had to speak. There was nothing that he couldn't do, wouldn't do, for the sake of the devotees. I mean, for the sake of love and to help people. When do you know that the dark night of the soul is over? Well, there's so many reasons why. There's so many causes of unhappiness, of frustration, of depression, of anger, of grief, of disconnection from other people and from ourselves. There's so many causes of that. Don't. The dark night of the soul is. I'm not an expert on these things, but it's a spiritual crisis that happens at some time, I think, with very advanced practitioners. I don't really understand it fully, but let's deal with what we have to deal with. Forget the dark night of the fucking soul. You're depressed, you're unhappy. There's reasons for that. There's causes of that. So it's up to you to motivate yourself, to look at yourself, to try to find a way to be kind to yourself, to try to understand the forces that formed you right into this moment. What's going on? What happened? What didn't happen? What's happening now? Don't make these, don't up level things in the mind like dark night of the soul. This is a very difficult time in the world. Everybody seems to be suffering. Everybody has anxiety and fear and uncertainty about things. It's really God's tough time. And a lot of our own feelings are not really only our own. It's like a mist in the air that we're all breathing. This uncertainty, this fear, this craziness. So chill out, slow down, relax, relax, relax. Sit quietly. Don't try to meditate too hard. Let your mind your thoughts just settle like a leaf falling from the tree, slowly, slowly down to the ground. See what comes up for you. Find out what's going on. Only you can do that. And once you get a hint of what might be behind your depression or unhappiness, you can try to find a way to get some help. Whether it's spiritual help, psychological help, or physical help. Who knows what the cause of this is? So you have to do that because nobody else can do it for you. Did my mom allow me to travel to Kenchi when I was so young? Well, thank you. I wasn't so young. I was 23. I remember when I was 23 and knew everything. My mother, I didn't tell her that I was never coming home. And I was already out of the house for about 5 years already. You know, I was at college, I was out of college, I was roaming around the world, roaming around America. No. And she didn't know that I didn't plan to come back. I wouldn't tell her that, otherwise, first of all, it would hurt her, and second of all, who knows what would happen. But if my daughter, who's not listening right now, if my daughter told me she was going to India and never coming back, I'd lock her in a fucking closet and throw in some rice once a week. But we have a different relationship. My mother didn't need to know what was going on. And then after a while, but she actually came to India and she met Maharaj-ji. So that turned out good. I'm sorry, I don't really understand this question. I am a mental person who spends a lot of time in the tool shed. Have been working with this for 15 years, trying not to live in the tool shed. I assume you mean trying to not be so mental. I've given up understanding for Lent. It seems to be my gateway drug. Understanding. You mean like trying to understand things. Any words how to not just be so mental. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness of those things. But because we are mostly not paying attention to ourself, we are lost in our thoughts and feelings. And so you just, one way is you could try to do a concentration practice where you simply watch your breath in, out, or count the breath and then count again. So it's very clear to you when you're thinking and when you're paying attention, and you notice how hard it is to actually be there. There are many of those practices, and it ain't easy because there's so much energy in our heads. We're so busy. Have so much input that our energy is all up and up and up and all over the place, and it doesn't settle. And when we think we're trying to settle, we turn on the television and we gap out. And that's not settling the energy. That's being gone. So it's good that you notice that you tend to be this way, but you're identifying with your thoughts, which we all do. And you're fighting with them. Why fight with them? Just slow down and allow yourself to be. It's a practice, just to let yourself be there. And then you'll be thinking about something, and then you're, oh, I'm sitting here. Oh. So it's a little bit hard to remember you're sitting there unless you add an object of awareness, an object of concentration, like counting, like a mantra, like breath, watching the breath, etc., etc. I don't know if you do any physical practice, but asana practice, if done with the right intention, can help the mind calm down. So you might want to try some of that and then sit a little bit after that and see how that goes. But good luck. I don't really understand this question very well. Since surrendering after pain is hard. So he's asking, how did I move into a clear space after suffering? I'm not sure if I did, but thank you. What types of trips lead you to the process of cleaning out your headspace? Well, not tripping was one thing that helped. And just blessings. I had a lot of help. There were many wonderful old devotees of Maharaj-ji that I spent a lot of time with after he disappeared. They helped me survive. We're always in relationship to many different things. And satsang or sangha, the community of seekers, is very important. And for me, that community was the old devotees in India who were very kind to me and very loving and very supportive. And so I had a lot of help. So I'm not thinking about cleaning out my headspace, as you put it. I'm thinking about, the way I think about it is just being in Maharaj-ji's presence. For me, that's what it is. So if you don't have that attitude, then you have to find an attitude that works for you. You can work with your thoughts, work with your emotions. There are different meditative practices. There are different teachings available. So many teachings these days. In those days, we had to go to India. There was nothing here. So this one person says that chanting seems like a prayer of the heart. Having a Christian background, I'm not sure how to start the practice of chanting other than being here with everyone. Any direction would be helpful. Well, if you identify as a Christian, sing to Jesus. That's a good way to start. And then you might be able to recognize, or you might, as they say in the East, there's only one. There's one God, many forms, many teachings, many lineages, many transmissions. Maharaj used to say Jesus, Hanuman, and Christ are the same. And he said it many times to us. And of course, Christians might not say that, obviously, because they identify with being with Jesus is the way. And for those people, Jesus is the way. But there are other ways of looking at it. So you just start singing from the heart. Just talk to your object of devotion, and it'll all come. Where do I find all the stories behind the Hanuman Chalisa? In the Ramayana, either in the Valmiki Ramayana, which is the original version, or any of the other versions of the Ramayana, like the Tulsidas Ramacharita-manas. That's also all the things in the Hanuman Chalisa are mentioned. What's mentioned in the Hanuman Chalisa is things that happen in the Ramayana. Also, my course with Michael Sternfeld. That's correct. I did a beautiful course with Michael Sternfeld, who's a scholar of the Ramayana, and there's a lot there. A lot of the stories of the course I did with him was just the stories of Hanuman. Everything that Hanuman said in the Ramayana was part of that course, and around it was woven all these stories, all the things that Hanumanji did. So yeah, that's a great thing. It's called Hanuman's Leap of Faith. Someone's asking me if I dreamt I was in Lithuania doing kirtan last night, or was it just me? She says, no, yes, it was just you. I was not in Lithuania as far as I know. How does one sit with pain? I just got diagnosed with chronic pain and doctors can't seem to fix it. Well, there are many different meditations and ways of living with chronic pain. And there are many people who have that kind of pain, chronic pain. So you can look around online for that. Buddhist meditation practices can be used, working with pain can be a part of Buddhist meditation practices. It's probably not going to be very useful to try to concentrate on a mantra if your knee is killing you or if you're in terrible pain. What they say is there's a way of working directly with the pain and not trying to push it away, actually going into it with the mind and seeing, experiencing it in a different way. But I'm not an expert on that, but I know there are experts out there. So please look around and try to find something. There's a lot of things that you can do, that you don't have to just simply suffer and for no purpose. Pain, physical, mental, emotional pain is very hard to deal with, but many times we have to learn certain lessons from the pain. The pain can grace us with some very deep lessons. For instance, Ramdas. Ramdas was in a wheelchair for over 20 years. He was always in pain. He had to totally surrender to the fact that he could not do anything for himself. He had to be served. And on every level, he rose to the occasion. He conquered his pride, his anger. He conquered so much of his, he was able to really work with that situation in a way that liberated him and freed him from most of his egoistic suffering. So it is very possible. So please, you can do. Could one sing only chalisas and sitaram, or should the practice be more diverse? You sing what you like. Whatever you like, sing. Everybody's listening. Ganesh is not going to be jealous that you sing to Hanuman. Krishna's not going to worry that you're singing to Ram. Actually, they're the same being. So it's not irrelevant. Just enjoy what you're doing. Whatever you sing, that's the best thing to sing. What are the thoughts on the book Peaceful Death, Joyous Rebirth? Seems a little terrifying to me. Yes. I don't know if anybody else. I didn't remember that I mentioned that book, the name of the book. It was by Tulku Thondup, a wonderful, wonderful Tibetan Lama. And it's telling this, in Tibet, there are these people who are called Delog, D-E-L-O-G, who die and they go to like the different worlds after death, and then they come back to life and they tell what they've seen. And the book is serious, that's for sure. You know, we're not really facing our death right now, even though we are. There's not one of us that knows if the next breath is actually going to come in or not. We live as if we'll always be here. The way we live every day is as if we'll always be alive. And that may not be the case. So this particular book describes what these people experienced after they had died, after the body had died. And then when they came back, sometimes a few days later, and it's very, first of all, it's very Tibetan, because these are Tibetan people. But it's also it makes you think about your actions, because what these people experienced was very clearly that karma, our karmas create our futures. How we live in this life has a lot to do with what comes after this. So, do I know that reincarnation is absolutely true? No, I do not. It is something I believe is true, but you don't have to believe that. But in the East, they pretty much, most people believe in that this one life that we're living now is part of is a chapter in a very big book that's still being written. So, but if you read that book, you see that everything that those people saw, nobody was punished, but everybody received the fruits of their actions. So people who had hurt other people, who had done negative things, who blah, 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 they, on their way to the next physical birth, they experienced some of those results of their negativity. And the people who were positive and open and good-hearted, etc., etc., basically, got those fruits. So you say it's terrifying, but and it is a little extreme for sure. But on the other hand, if that makes us better people, if we understand and take responsibility for our actions. See, if we don't believe in karma, we're not actually taking responsibility for our actions. Or so this wonderful Lama said to us last night. If you don't believe in karma, if you don't believe in cause and effect, then you're not taking responsibility for your life. Then there's no, you think it's all, there's no reason for anything. There are laws of karma, laws of cause and effect that seem to be at work in the universe. So even though this book is a little intense, very intense, so maybe it's not for everybody, but it made me, it shook me up a little bit, and I like that. It made me more aware of the reality of karma and the reality of how important it is to live in a good way. There's no time off. Every thought, every action creates karma. Meditation creates karma, good karmas. Giving, kindness, compassion, caring, generosity, good karmas. Come from good karmas, create good karmas. So that's what it means when you take responsibility for your actions. You're honoring the fact that we do have a say in how our life is. There is no fate that's unchangeable. Karma is the key to becoming free. If we plant the seeds for freedom, we get freedom. If we plant the seeds for greed and anger and shame and fear and manipulation and hurting people, well, what do you expect? So, good luck. That's it for today. Let's sing our way out of here. There's a very good book about karma, which is not quite so extreme. It's by my friend Robert Swoboda. It's the third book in a series called Aghora, Aghora. This is also pretty extreme stuff. Not your Walmart's spirituality. It's pretty intense. But the third book in the series is called The Laws of Karma, and it's really good. And it gives you a real feel for the karmic universe and how it works. Okay. Shri Guru Charan Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukuru Sudhar Dharano Raghubara Bimala Jasu Jodaya Kupalachar Buddhihin Tana Janke Sumiram Pavan Kumar Siaram Bala Buddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesa Bika Syavara Ramachandra Padaje Sharanam Jaya Hanuman Gyana Gunasaga Jaya Kapisati Humloka Ujaga Ramaduta Tulita Baladhana Anjani Putra Pavana Sutanam Mahavira Bikram Bhajarangi Kumati Nirvana Sumati Kesan Kanchana Varana Viraja Subesa Kanana Kundala Kanchita Kesa Hatha Bajaro Dvaja Viraja Kande Munja Janeru Saje Shankara Suvan Kesari Nanda Teja Pratapa Mahajagabanda Vidyavan Guni Ati Chatur Ramakaja Karibe Koatu Prabhu Charitra Sunibe Korasiya Rama Lakhana Sita Manabasi Sukshma Rupa Dardasiya Hindakava Vikata Rupa Daralanka Jarava Bhima Rupa Dare Asura Sanhari Ramachandra Ke Kaja Samvar Laya Sajivana Lakhana Jiyaya Shri Raghuvira Harshi Uralai Raghupati Kinhi Bohut Barai Tumama Priya Bharatai Samabhai Sahasabadan Tumaro Jasagavan Asakahi Shri Pati Kantalaga Sanakadika Brahmadi Munisa Arad Sharad Sahita Ahisa Yamakuber Digapal Jahante Kabiko Bidukaya Sake Kahante Tuma Upakara Sugriwa Hinkina Rama Milaya Raja Padadina Tumaro Mantra Bibhishana Mana Lankeshwara Bhais Bhajakajan Gasahasra Jojan Paraban Ilyotai Madhura Palajan Prabhu Mudrika Mele Mukamahi जलधि लांगी गए अचरज नाही, दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिन पैजारे। सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरण, तुम्हारा शक काहू को धरण। आपन तेज समारो आपे, तीनों लोक हांकते कांपे। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासे रोग हरे सब पीर, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीर। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राज, तिनके काज सकल तुम साज। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोवे अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों युग पर ताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियार। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नो निधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पास, सदा रहो रघुपति के दास। तुम्हारे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हर भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्तन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करे। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीर, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीर। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई। जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई, छुत ही बंदी महासुख होय। जो यह पर हनुमान चालीसा, होया सिद्धि साखी गौरीस। तुलसीदास सदा हरिचेरा, कीजे नाथ हृदय मंदिर। पवन तनय संकट हरण, मंगल मूर्ति रूप सिया राम। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसौ सुरभूप। सियावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम। मंगल मूर्ति मारुत नंदन, सकल मंगल मूल निकंदन। मंगल मूर्ति मारुत नंदन, सकल मंगल मूल निकंदन। श्री राम जय जय राम, श्री राम जय जय राम। Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Jai Ram. Sitaram, Nitaram, Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. When I'm in a bad place, when I can't get out of my negativity, my sadness, anger, when I'm really stuck, I sing Hanuman Chalisa. I recite Hanuman Chalisa. I read Hanuman Chalisa. So all of you who ask, what do I do with this? What do I do with that? Learning Hanuman Chalisa is a difficult practice, but Maharaj-ji gave us this practice, and he is in the practice. We are singing him, and he is always here. So learn Hanuman Chalisa, recite Hanuman Chalisa, read it, sing it, whistle it, but it's one of the it's the practice that he gave us more than anything in terms of changing one's mental and psychological outlook and feeling. He said every line of the Hanuman Chalisa is Maha Mantra, the great name, the great mantra, and that chanting Hanuman Chalisa can change fate. It can free us from the results of our own karmas and help us live good lives. So that's a little bit of advice, since I don't give advice. Bole Siyamar Ramachandra ki jai. Shri Pavan Sutta Hanuman ki jai. Shri Umapati Mahadeva ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Banki Bihari Lal Shri Krishna Baladeva Bhagavan ki jai. Shri Shri Vindhyavasini Durga Devi Shri Siddhima ki jai. Shri 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 Bhavanim Karoli Santa Maharaj ki jai. Namaste.